Okay guys, hello there. Welcome to my new video on how I'm designing my apps. Now, I'm going to use Microsoft Word here, and this is version 2013 on Windows 7. So right off the bat, into these two new projects. One's called the command line project for self-explanatory reasons, and the other one is the user interface version. They kind of go hand in hand, so that way I don't have to worry about trying to combine them into one solid app, because I've looked into it and the research is not very pretty. So here I'm going to attempt to do my designs and sketches, because currently my machine for scanning documents and images is not really working. So anyways, right into it. So this one's going to be on the commands and how we can go manipulating documents, making documents, removing them, creating a package history and stuff like this. So a few ideas to throw out. So you have an add command, you have a remove. I did think of doing rem for short, but then I thought rem could mean remainder. So I feel like remove would be the good way to go for removing. From here we have modify, we have create, we have help, or the equivalent will be this. Display could be disp or display. I'm not sure which way I honestly right now, but for now we'll keep it that way, and based on your comments and how my head's working, I can make it one or the other instead of having this option. Now after that we have confirm, I thought. Oh, confirm. We have echo after this. Next two I came up with were use and build. Let's say we have flags, or flags and switches are the things you say after the commands. So in this case, an example would be add counter, and then we give the class specifying for the counter, or maybe it's a method, and if we do, then we could say there's a class in addition to the specific method. If we don't specify the method, the console here would inject the counter into the local class that we're modifying if we do not specify it. And this would just mean that it would keep track specifically of the local class versus the global class, for example, just like you can have global variables and local variables. And because those are two different scopes, that could mean two very different, very distinct placements for where you put things, or where you add in this case. Now, no, there's two periods. That doesn't mean anything here. It just means we're going down the line into the rest of your script. Now, going into this further, that was just an example, right? So building on that example, we obviously now have some flags. So the flags. The best way I can think of doing this is you can think of how in command prompt on Windows, if you say something like ipconfig and then -a or all, it's the same operation even though it's two different. So anyways, going back into this, we have flags. So the flags, we have, for add, I said, okay, we have various kinds of flags. We have counter, method, class. After this, we have interface. We have another thing called the variable, the classic good old variable. I'm going to call it var for short. Var variable shorthand version. So anyways, we have constant, unit test, and then we have logic. Okay, now that's just for the add command, but when I was going through the design stage and sketching down ideas on paper, what I actually had written was pretty much all of these, but in addition I specified it for remove and the modify command as well. And then let's go into create. So the flags here, I will say before I go forward a little bit here, that right now I'm just doing the rough around the edges kind of thing. We're just starting to dive in. I won't go too far into the details of how I started doing this from paper to programming project and the object. Going forward, help, there really is not going to be any flags for help or the other equivalent shorthand, which is / and then question mark, because help and /? I believe that is pretty self-explanatory, and I don't think many users, even general users, would have to try and like wrap their head around like what does that mean? What does help really do? So if anything, I would just have a description for it. But right now, it's not too necessary of a detail as it is. So anyways, going to disp, we have flags such as tree, and we have the other one as vars. Now we could go into this further. So display, we can display it as a tree. That's what tree means. And there's two different ways you could just do a tree. You could do centered tree, like if you're in a computer science class, you might know of binary trees there. And then the other one, there's vars. Now, if you feel like there's more that can be added to this list of flags for the display or disp command, feel free and comment. So now, confirm, hello. So confirm has really no flags because it will do exactly that. If you say confirm, if you type in the command confirm and then hit return or enter, it will basically say success if your next command, for every command, then the confirm mode will be engaged, you could say, and it will always say success or successful command or valid command or whatever you can think of, and it will always show confirmation or not show confirmation. And that's really all that is. I don't really think that needs to be having a flag. I'll put a description column, I think. Maybe this could be done in Excel. But yeah, so there's that. There's echo now. Now, echo you can kind of think of echo on, echo off, kind of like command line does, or command prompt, I mean, for Windows. So, in this case, echo will just have the flags O. So O being on or off. Honestly, I kind of feel like what we could do is just take out the idea of flags for echo, confirm, and help, and just keep them fairly self-explanatory, I think. So comment down below what you think about that, and if you feel like I should modify that rule. Let's see, use. So there's the data type / class. Data type and class, what does that mean? I will explain in just a second. The other one was data struct. So whenever you're programming in a programming language, be it Python, Java, JavaScript, even for any platform, if I'm using that word correctly, I think you're using different kinds of types of data. You're using different kinds of data structures, for example, being loops. Some loops your common loops are really your for loops, your while loops, and your do while loops. As I was taught, for loops are when you know precisely how many times you're iterating for some action, or for some, operation. And while and do while is when you want to do it at least one time, but you don't know how many times. In a while, you never really actually know, coming into the loop, how many times you're running it. Now, in robotics, when I was on the robotics team in my high school, what we did when I was working on the code, I learned really quickly was that the while loop used as a data structure was really quite unique. It always had to be using true as a condition. So it was literally an infinite loop at all times whenever you were running the code. The fact was that you were using a data structure that was an infinite loop. Now, here I could also use command use followed by infinite loop if I wanted to under the data struct flag. We have build here. Here actually is the last command. I don't have any more on paper. I didn't really think there would need to be more. But anyways, yeah, so build has XML. You can build a GUI, and you can also build a website. And there's that. The commands look like what their flags are for the console app. And in fact, I think I will be writing the code in Java and in C# for this project. One, it helps me practice my skills. And for those of you who are watching this, you can follow along and code it yourself, and you can even practice. And if you ever feel stuck, you can actually look at the same documentation I do. Hopefully I don't cut out all the stuff that shows me doing the research, because sometimes you guys benefit from seeing the kind of research I do. Lastly is just explaining here some of the flags, what they mean exactly. So I've already kind of talked about the counter flag down below with the example I did earlier. I think what I'll do, I'll go bottom up actually. So let's start off with the build command, the one at the bottom. We have XML GUI, your website. Now, one thing I didn't write down there was there's some more stuff that you can expand on for XML, I think. It's a potential, really. And GUI definitely has some things you can expand on, and same thing for a website even. Data struct is another one. You have sub flags, if you will. And even data type, I feel like you could. I'm not entirely sure yet in my head how that could go. Comment what you think about that too. Echo, confirm, and help, I think we can agree. Comment if you agree, or like if you agree. And that's just the whole thing of being self-explanatory and trying to be as simple as possible at all times. I'm aiming to create something that can be scripted as well. This isn't just some kind of a random console app I'm making in Java and C#. It's something that I want to be like as a tool, as utility for the general programmer and for the advanced programmers too. And the software engineers that are senior level at Google, for example, they may not have this stuff. They might actually have it. I have no idea. But if they have use for something like a tool like this, I feel like it would be a great, very powerful, and very time-saving tool. And that's why I think this could be something for a lot of people, a lot of programmers especially. This obviously then is kind of biased to the developer world, software engineer, programmers, the amateurs, well, essentially, the new kids on the block in the programming world. And I feel like they can learn from this experience too. So, just let me know what you think about that, and, subscribe for more content because I'll be updating the playlist on that soon. So, hope you have a good one.